When I'm talking about playfulness, I'm also reminded of this quote from my dear friend Rocco Jarman, who is, I have talked about him multiple times on this podcast and my YouTube channel previously. I think he's one of the sanest voices going around on the internet in this day and age. You should check out his work at eyeswideopenlife.org. So, one of his quotes, which is actually about playfulness, he says, this is beautifully done. He says, first, the child must learn true gratitude. Then, the adult can learn the playfulness of a child. Finally, the sage may learn to forget all. And not a single one of these words is wasted. It's so true. I think I'm going to dedicate a complete episode someday talking just about this entire quote. But what we can focus on right now is that second line. The adult can learn the playfulness of a child. I'm sure when Rocco wrote this quote, and even when you read this quote, you do not want playfulness to mean, again, that very, I don't know what are the right word for it, but not being sincere with whatever it is that you're doing. Kind of being, I don't know if glib is the right word, but one of these things, it's like not just considering anything to be serious or even being sincere with it. That is not the playfulness that we're talking about here. Rather, the playfulness that you should be thinking about when you think about the playfulness of a child is, in some manner of speaking, not worrying too much about the outcome, let's say. Not worrying too much about what others think of your actions, what others think of the outcomes that are arrived at after your actions. If you can let go of those few things, that will definitely make you more playful with whatever it is you're doing. At work, at home, in your relationships, even when you're actually playing. You can actually play if you learn to let go of the worry about the outcome. Of course, you have to think about an outcome. This is something we have talked about previously also. There's this quote from Bhagavad Gita where it said in Hindi, Karm kar phal ki chinta mat kar, which loosely translated in English would mean do your deed but do not worry about the outcome. A lot of times people conflate that with meaning that you should not even think about the outcome and just do whatever it is that you're doing. That's one way of going about it, but I don't think that's the highest way of looking at it. I think the best way of interpreting this quote is actually do the deed but do not worry about the outcome. Do the deed in accordance to whatever it is the outcome that you're looking for. So that does not mean do not think about the outcome at all. Think about the outcome, but do not worry about it because it's hardly in your control. If you start to worry too much about the outcomes, this is something that if you've been alive for a good number of years now on this planet, you would know that if you worry too much about the outcome of whatever it is that you're doing, whatever you can do in the present moment definitely gets hampered. So you think about the outcome, you align your actions with the outcome, and then play along with whatever the present moment offers. That's it. And yeah, so that's one way of looking at playfulness. One more way of understanding playfulness is that playfulness is almost at the heart of how we humans and even other animals learn everything. Very small babies, I think even a few months old, if babies are even just a few months old, they have a very playful habit of grasping whatever it is that they can see. And that's not just to find out the utility in it. It's not that babies are thinking that this might be useful, let me grab it. That's what an adult would think. But babies are just being playful with it. They just want to play with whatever it is that is around them. Let me grab this and play with it, grab this and play with it. And that's how, in fact, playing with it is how babies learn to stand, learn to walk, learn to crawl or run for that matter. And that's true for other animals too. But somehow when we grow up, we learn the ability to play with whatever it is that we're targeting to achieve. And in fact, if you think about it, doing something playfully, doing something with the perspective of playing to learn, doing to learn instead of doing to win is, I think, the best way of playing at life. You can be more playful with whatever it is that you're chasing, whatever it is that you're doing in life, if you are just centered in the present moment if you know, if you can understand, this is what I have to do in the present moment, and that's it. I'll play along with the present moment now. That's one way of looking at playfulness too. And I think one more perspective that jumps into my mind when I talk about playfulness is playing almost senselessly at times. You know, it's like not everything that you do has to be absolutely pitch perfect sensible, you know, at least not sensible for others. Here's what I mean. There's a little caveat here. I remember when I was a kid, I used to have a friend of mine who was as mad about cricket as I was. And we were that mad that we used to, just the two of us, we would spend our afternoons in bright sunlight in northern India. We would spend our afternoons playing test cricket, just the two of us. We would just pick up a crazy ball like this and small little bats, just the size of our forearms maybe, and we would play 11 batters each side, 2 innings in a match, and we would play multiple matches. And I think every time I tell this to anyone, even people who are mad for cricket like me, even they consider that, dude, this is something senseless. And it is, I agree it is, but it used to be so much fun when we were doing it. I think my friend would also recognize, whenever we meet, we definitely talk about this, that this is something that, it's a story that sticks in our mind. We've done that, I think, for a complete summer where we played test cricket summer in his backyard or my backyard. It was glorious time. So even if it doesn't make sense to others, even if it seems senseless to others, we were playing with life. We were having fun. And that is definitely one of the, I don't know if it is the purpose of life as such, but it's definitely one facet of life that we lose out when we become adults. We become just too serious with everything. We become too serious with our lives. And we lose this fun-loving, senseless part of ourselves, which I think we can foster, at least at times.